Now, China is one of the latest countries to make an agricultural push in the States, but a tattered geopolitical relationship with the country has lawmakers and experts unclear of Beijing's motives. And right now we're exploring what they could be. Our next guest is a geopolitical analyst, and he's the author of the book Winning Space: How America Remains a Superpower. Brandon Weichert. Brandon, thank you so much for joining us on the show. And I just want to start this off by saying, the Committee on Foreign Investment in the United States is reviewing the purchase of land by a Chinese-owned company in North Forks, North Dakota. And I want to pull up some reasons the city is promoting the project. And you can see, construction estimated to employ 1,000 construction contractors for 2.5 years. The facility is expected to employ over 230 full-time employees. I mean, you see the reasons there. Do you think this investment by Chinese-owned, companies is a good thing for the U.S.?
No, in this case, it is not. This is obviously a front for a much more nefarious operation. The property that in question that the Chinese want to buy is very near a very sensitive U.S. Air Force facility. They test new drones there. They also do, they have a sophisticated satellite control node there that basically controls all of our military satellites. And the Chinese likely want to use that property to soak up intelligence, and also just generally letting China have access to our food supply during such tense geopolitical times is probably not the best idea.
In 2019, the U.S. had 36 million acres of farmland and forest under foreign ownership, and Chinese investors hold about half of 1% of that. So again, I'll say it again, half of 1% of that, according to the AgriPulse magazine. Is there a risk to the American food supply as you kind of bring that into the picture here?
Well, we saw this during the pandemic. I believe it was Smithfield out in the East Coast of the United States produces a lot of pork, but they have to send the pork to be processed in China, and then they send it back in its fully processed form. Well, we had a run on pork in the aftermath of the shutdown of travel and trade between China and the United States, which caused a spike in the price of that product. So even though that wasn't a strategic issue, imagine China getting access to our critical agriculture, even a small fraction of it, and then shutting us off from it during a geopolitical crisis. And that in turn could spike the price on ordinary Americans, which has a negative impact on the economy overall. It's not a good idea.
I want to mention a quote from James Talent, a former U.S. Senator and member of the U.S.-China Economic and Security Review Commission. He said China's buying to this point is designed to secure their own food supply chains rather than to gain leverage over ours. China has 1.4 billion mouths to feed. I mean, would strengthened ties with China help U.S. farmers continue to export to that big market? So the reverse of what we can offer and
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's his opinion, and that's half of the equation. But again, we see China's attitude and how they behave, whether it's in Indonesia, whether it's in Sri Lanka or Africa. They go into a country, they say they're there to do trade, and it turns out these transactions they're doing has nefarious usages. We really have to look at this specific case and say there's obviously something more going on. It has to do with this U.S. Air Force base. China wants to soak up intelligence on our sensitive drones and our satellite capabilities, because those are the things we're going to use if a war ever breaks out. They want information on that. What better way than to have property right next door with people there who can soak up all that intel for them?
Brandon Weichert, we appreciate your insight on this topic, really walking us through that there's a track record as you're putting down. We're picking that up. We appreciate your insight.
Thank you.
Still to come.